How to play Rock and Roll Brouhaha. When you open the box, you should have 108 cards, a rule book, and resource cubes. If you have any blank cards, Game Crafter cards, or other cards from another game, that is just a product of the Game Crafter. You can do whatever you want with those. They're not part of this game. Of the remaining cards, find the round, downbeat, and volume cards. Put those to one side of the play area. Also find the hustle cards. In a two-player game, you'll use practice, day job, opportunity, music shop, and sound check. You will not use jam session, big break, or networking. Those are for multiplayer games. Take the 5 hustles and put those on the other side of the play area. Then find the 11 gear cards. Shuffle them and deal out 5 near the music shop. Put the remaining ones on a pile face down that you'll use to replenish the music shop once someone buys a gear from there. Find all the Forte cards. They're labeled Forte in the bottom right. This will be the Forte player's deck. Likewise, find all the Chill cards. There should be 36. That will be the Chill player's deck. Those are the 2-player decks. Find any cards that say Extra and set those aside. Those are used in multiplayer games. Also find the Promo card and set it aside. That is not for play. Each player will then identify the performance cards. There should be 4 in their deck, and they will put them in order from 1 to 4, face up. Then these are called the set lists. Put those set lists from each player in the middle of the play area as shown. Also find the open mic performance. Put that also in the shared stage zone. These will be how you score points in the game. The open mic night remains even after it is won. Each player will then identify the starting venue and street team cards that they have and set those aside because these will be in each player's opening hand. Okay, then shuffle the remaining cards and deal yourself 5 and then add your starting venue and your street team. This is your opening hand. Each player will have a resource pool. Give each player 2 cred and $1 cube. Put 6 cubes of either color on the volume. This is the starting volume level. Put 1 cube on the round, designating that this is the first round. This is how the board should look once you've set up and dealt to each player. There's a shared stage zone with the set lists. Each manager has their own play zone where they'll play cards. These are all the cards you won't use in a 2-player game. Some game terminology. Strum is that symbol that refers to effects that can only be done once in a round. When you designate when something gets strummed by turning it 45 or 90 degrees. Fetch is when you search your deck for a particular card, reveal it to your opponents, and place it where the fetch statement tells you to do so. After you do that, you shuffle your deck. Victory points are the green circle with the V. Those are points. That's normally won by winning gigs. Managers begin the game with 0 victory points, and reaching 20 will trigger the game end. In your hand, you should have musician cards. These are members of your band. Musician cards have talents. Those are those symbols. Those are the symbols that you'll match up to the symbols on a performance card to determine if you can win that performance. The 5 talents are stage presence, mojo, timbre, harmony, and rhythm. You can just call them yellow, orange, red, blue, black. You can see the talents also appear on the performance cards. REQ is requirements. These are the symbols that your assigned musicians must have in order to win the performance or be considered for winning it. And then the judging is what you look at if more than one manager has been assigned to the same performance, has assigned musicians to the same performance. Personnel are other cards that you can have in your tableau in your stage play area. These are cards that don't get assigned to performances but have some other abilities. Venues are how you'll produce resources and what gets assigned to a performance to form a gig. They show what they produce, either cred or dollars, and they will also show what expense, and again, that's to play musicians onto the gig that includes that venue. Gear cards are cards you might buy during the game at the music shop. You buy them, you put them in play in front of you, and then you can assign them to a musician you manage to achieve some effect. Action cards are things that you might play from your hand. You pay the cost, and then the action resolves right away. Each round has 3 phases. The prelude phase, which is like the setup, the main phase where players are taking action, and the coda phase, which is like the cleanup phase. In the prelude phase, the first thing that happens is managers simultaneously draw a card from their decks. Then managers simultaneously pay out, where all of their salary cards and all their unstrummed venues will produce resources. Venues will produce whatever resource they say on the card. Salary cards will produce either a dollar or a cred, depending on which the manager chooses. They can choose differently each time. Then the reset step, where all the strummed cards get set back to the upright position. That's the end of the prelude phase. Here's an example of payout. This manager had one strummed venue which will not produce any resources. The manager has Danny's Garage and Carvin Cafe, which each produce $1. So he'll get 2 gold cubes. This manager also has 2 salary cards that can produce either of the manager's choice. In this case, he's chosen 2 cred, but he could choose a cred and $1, $2, whatever combination, and that can change from one round to the next. These cards all stay in play unless a card effect says otherwise. Here's an example of resetting a card, just taking it from the strummed position, putting it in the upright position. Now it's time for the main phase. This is where each player will take one action, starting with the manager with the downbeat. I'm going to list what actions you can do on your turn, but you just do one thing, and then it's back to the other manager to also take an action. You can play a venue card from your hand. Limit, you can only do this once per round. It doesn't cost anything to play the venue. You put it into play, it's unstrummed and ready to go. You can also play a salary card from your hand, where you take any card in your hand and place it face down on the table. You can also only do that once per round. Okay, in subsequent rounds, that will produce either a dollar or a credit. You can also play an action card from your hand. You pay its cost and resolve the effects of that action card immediately, and then you put the action card into your retirement pot. You can play a musician or personnel card from your hand. You pay the cost and you put those cards into play, but these come into play strummed, so they're sideways and they won't be able to be used on the round in which they come into play. If you have an unstrummed musician in your play area, you can assign an unstrummed musician or an unstrummed personnel card to an unoccupied hustle card. The effect will resolve immediately. Musicians have different effects than personnel, and once there's a musician or personnel assigned to a hustle, no further cards can be assigned to that hustle in this round. You can strum a card that's unstrummed to activate card effects on the card. In this example, Billy Daniels can be strummed to produce a cred or to draw a card if the volume level is greater than 7. You can choose one of those, and if he's unstrummed, you can strum him and have that effect. If you have an unstrummed gear card in front of you, you can assign it to an unstrummed musician that you manage. There's usually a cost to do so, and when you do this, put the cards together so you can tell that the gear is assigned to the musician. Doing this does not cause either of those cards to strum. If you have an unstrummed venue, you can assign it to an unbooked performance, a performance that doesn't have a venue assigned. Doing this causes the venue to be strummed, but now this combination of performance and venue is known as a gig. It's what we played and where we played it. And now either manager may assign musicians here. So if you do assign a musician to a gig, you have to pay the expense cost shown on the venue, and that will cause the musician to strum. So the musician will strum, and that musician is now assigned to the gig and will be until the end of the round. You can also pass and do nothing. If you pass, it's now the next manager's turn. If they take an action, you can get back in again, and you can take another action after them. Play will continue back and forth in the main phase until all managers pass consecutively, at which point we will move to the coda phase. In the coda phase, we're going to have the gig judging step where we'll see if gigs were won and by which manager. We'll have the gig resolution step where we'll resolve any effects and remove performances that have been won. We'll trigger end of round effects if there are any. We'll check for win conditions. So basically, after we resolve gigs, we'll say, did any manager reach 20 or more points? If so, the game is over. The manager with the highest victory point total will win. Okay, so let's talk about gig judging. Here's an example where we have a gig. Dave's Chill Lounge is the venue. Gloomy Sunday is the performance. This gig requires stage presence, timbre, and mojo. You can see these three musicians are assigned here probably by the same manager, and they do have stage presence, timbre, and mojo. So this manager has achieved the requirements and will win this performance, this gig, and score the points. Here's an example where a manager has assigned three musicians here, but they do not have mojo. They don't meet the requirements. This manager would not win this performance, this gig. Here's an example where more than one manager has assigned musicians to a gig. That is certainly possible because you can only do one at a time, okay? So they've each spent several turns assigning musicians to this gig and paying the expense cost for each musician. Remember, it doesn't cost anything to assign a venue to a performance, but it does cost to assign musicians to a gig, okay? So if more than one manager is assigned here, during the gig judging step, we will look at the judging that's written on the performance. In this case, it's stage presence, timbre, and rhythm. Even though mojo was required to meet the requirements of the performance, it's not one of the criteria of judging. So we're going to count all the yellow, red, and black icons on each manager's band. The manager on the left, total is 9. The manager on the right, total is 7. So the manager on the left would win this gig, okay? They would get the 4 points during the gig resolution, and they would also get that extra effect at that time, okay? So we resolve all the gigs. Whoever has the downbeat gets to choose the order in which those points are resolved if there's various effects. And then any performances come off that were won, they should then reveal the next performance in the set list. Open mic night will stay out at all times. Then in the coda phase, after we check if someone won, we'll replenish the music shop back up to 5 gear. We'll add a token to the round card. We'll point the downbeat card to the next manager on the left, and we'll go to the prelude phase of the next round. And we'll keep going through round after round in the same manner until the coda phase in which a manager has 20 or more points. Thanks for playing.